Good afternoon, and welcome everybody to Trading Card Therapy, episode number 25. You can find us every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. or thereabouts Eastern Time on our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube channel, and of course, Instagram Live. You can follow me personally on Instagram at Leighton_Sheldon. So today we have a couple topics we'd like to cover. The first one I feel like many of you will find interesting, whether it be you're an expert collector, dealer also, investor, etc., or anywhere in between, is the grading process. Specifically with PSA, but I really grade most of my cards with PSA and SGC. I have graded in the past with some of the others, including Beckett. I've checked out some of the newer grading companies, and I really do like not just the holders, but I like some of the things that I'm hearing in terms of what's going on, for example, with CSG and those types of folks. It looks like they're here for the long haul. So I'll be interested to see where that shakes out. But today in particular, we're going to talk about the grading card process. And to do that, I'm going to discuss and show off a recent 4-card PSA submission through their express service. And I just got them back at our offices in Somerset. But for those of you who've been following us for a long time and have heard the phrase live from the 459, well, that's going to change to live from the 296. That's right, we're moving to 296 Milburn Ave in Milburn, New Jersey. If you're familiar with the area, it's right in the heart of downtown, 50 feet from a fantastic deli, wonderful restaurants, and just a really cute downtown area. And if you ever heard of the Short Hills Mall, it's just minutes away. So we're aiming for July 1st. We'll let everyone know when the grand opening is going to be, and we'll keep everyone posted. So without further ado, the first thing that I did with this particular order, and with grading costs going up in general, A, I always am very careful with what I send in. B, I try to predict the grades, even though it's an onerous task, and to be honest with you, you have no one else to really know if you're doing well or not, meaning unless you share it on social, and even then people are like, I don't believe you, but this today is about education. And so I'm going to share with you what I did with my last order, and where one or two came in a little bit short of what I was looking for, one or two came in about what I was looking for, and one of them definitely came in slightly nicer, or you'll see in just a second. So like I said, if you're enjoying today and the types of content that we're sharing here through Trading Card Therapy, please give us a like and a follow. And for today's episode in particular, let me know what you'd like to know in regards to the grading card process. What do you find the most daunting, the most difficult, or you never hear someone talk about and you'd love to know the answer to? Drop it in the comments below. So the first card in the submission, before I mention it, in general, I have a theory, especially as grading costs have gone up. You can't spend $6 or $8 to get cards graded anymore, certainly not with PSA or SGC. And so if you're wrong, right, being wrong today costs a lot more than it did 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. So you have to be more cognizant. So one of the things, until we officially moved to AI, that has long served me well, and I haven't ever shared publicly before, is the idea of, quote unquote, setting up your grading card submission by grade. And so you're going to see, as I step you through this simple 4-card grading submission to PSA, what was going on in this nerd's head as far as submitting these cards in varying grades and varying values. So the first card is, and I didn't take them out of plastic. I wonder if I should have for the glare in the loft, which are going live from Maplewood today. So the first card is a PSA 1.5 of a second year 1952 Bowman Willie Mays. Now we're going to show some images of this on social media, a little bit more up close and clear so you can see them. But you can imagine that if it graded a 1.5, unless I missed something, I was hoping for a lower grade. So with this card in particular, I was really hoping for between a 1.5 and a 2. And I know you probably can't see the wear as well as I can in person, but I believe it's accurately graded, especially after seeing it in the holder. And it's a common thing that I like to try to relay to people when I'm talking to them in person or on the phone. When you're buying raw cards and you're trying to get them graded, you should really picture it not just raw in the card saver, but what will it look like in the holder? And I've graded tens of thousands of cards of PSA. So I have a very good idea of what I believe, and it's changed over time. It has. tightened up, sometimes a little bit looser. But in general, the most important thing you'd like from a grading company is consistency. So with this particular card, I chose it first because A, it was the lowest grade in my package, okay? And B, low grade Willie Mays second year Bowmans are still going to sell a lot better slabbed than it is raw. So I would put that out raw. Maybe I'd put a grade of good on it, meaning a 2. Maybe I would say it's fair to good. Someone might ask me, is it authentic because left to right looks small, or, who knows what someone could say. So for the cost of PSA grading, I was able to encapsulate a solid looking second year card of Willie Mays, and appropriately it came back a 1.5. The reason why it was the first card is I was hoping the next card was going to be a 3. You're going to see what it came back. It did not come back a 3. It came back a 2. I bought this card raw at Bleecker Trading, my friends in New York City, who I'm actually going to go see tonight for trade night, along with Slab Stocks and the Red Bull soccer team. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in the neighborhood, stop by 96 Christopher Street in the Village. Some good eats at the very least. Great pizza. So this card is fantastic because 1952 Burke Ross, Jackie Robinsons, I wouldn't call them rare. They're just tough to find. And I haven't handled one in several years. So when I bought this card raw at Bleecker, I really thought it was between good and VG, meaning a 2 and a 3. However, after getting it back and taking a closer look, I looked at the bottom left edge right here. And I already knew there was creasing there, but I still thought they could 3 it. Something I didn't see so well in the light that day at Bleecker, and that's most important when you're traveling, especially trying to buy big deals or doing big trades. Don't be ashamed. Travel with a lamp. Travel with a good lighting. So this scuffing just to the left of Jackie's head really represents paper loss. So paper loss with the crease. Paper loss with the crease. Sorry, I was getting text messages here about tonight, ironically. A text message with a crease. Excuse me. A scuffing with a crease is the reason for the grade of a 2. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but if I do put it up in my eBay store, you could look for it at just_collect. However, we do sell cards privately through our email blast of about 30,000 people. And if you'd like to sign up for that, just drop me a line, Leighton, Leighton, at justcollect.com. So the reason why I like this card is because it's not easy to find. It's an early card of Jackie. It's still somewhat affordable-ish. And even though it got a grade of 2, I know that in person it does look like a 3. And so I might price it, call it an aggressive 2. And so that's what's kind of fun about getting your cards back through grading. If you guess at what the grade is first, even if it comes back a little bit lower, half grade lower, grade lower, if you're going to be selling it, you can always price it at the next grade. If you don't sell it, just understand that you'll have a very nice example of that card for the grade, and you might be quite content with that, especially as a collector. The next card was the, not coincidentally, the next highest graded card I was looking for in the stacks. In other words, with the Willie Mays, I was looking for a lowish grade. With the Jackie Robinson, I was looking for just a slightly higher grade. But the reason why I'm now going to take a break and talk about this is until we turn to artificial intelligence across the hobby, just remember, human beings are grading your cards. So no matter how great they are at PSA and SGC, along with their senior teams, they're still prone to not just afraid about making mistakes. I think about setting their eye. So in other words, if I'm hoping for a lowish grade on this, a slightly higher grade on this, you're going to see where my eye goes for the next one. I had a fresh, raw 1960 Topps Mickey Mantle that I recently bought from a collection from Just Collect, my other company where we buy, sell, and appraise millions of dollars of vintage cards every year. So this card was bought raw. It's a little bit off-center left to right and top to bottom, but nothing, nothing obscene in terms of getting a qualifier or being terribly off-centered. And I know you probably can't tell there at home live with me, but the corners are not indicative of a 7. And so I thought that really the best grade that I could get on this card was a 6. So if you look, there's the next card, and we got exactly what we were looking for, a PSA 6. So you can see so far now in the first 3 grades, I'm going up the scale. And by the way, the grader may be very aware of what we're quote unquote doing, but we're not doing anything other than trying to set their eye. Once again, getting back to that human aspect, I know they know how to grade cards. I know how to grade cards also. That's why when I send in my cards, I'm very methodical, I'm very thoughtful, and I try to keep myself honest by marking down when I think my cards will grade, especially if cards have become worth more and cost a lot more to submit in recent years. So if you submit a Jackie Robinson Leaf rookie several times at $1,000 a clip, at some point it's not worth resubmitting because the upside is not worth $1,000 a clip. So at some point you may only get one chance, depending on the card's value and the threshold you have to pay, PSA or a different grade company, for example, to get the card graded. Really important to consider before sending your cards that first time. So as we can review briefly, happy enough with this. Didn't think it was high grade. Thought it could squeeze out a 2, but after getting it back, I'm like, you know what, 1.5 is very fair. Thought this could definitely be a 3 when I first bought it, but as I admitted, I didn't see the scuffing the first day at Bleecker. So I knew when I submitted to PSA, get really lucky a 3, but I thought it was going to be a 2-ish, maybe a 2.5. So nothing wrong with this, especially a tough 52 Burke Ross, Jackie Robinson, his second Burke Ross card. And as I just mentioned a minute ago, Yankee all-time great Mickey Mantle was fortunate enough to buy a really gorgeous, fresh example of this, just missing the near mint mark. But 6 is a solid north of $1,000 card, I believe, and really happy to get that one back from grading. So the last one is very sweet, pun intended. It is a Walter Payton rookie. And when you first glance at it, you're like, wait, I don't understand. What were you going for? I'm going to tell you exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping for the highest grade possible. I'm going to keep an edge just a second, just a smidge. So before I show it to you, remember, nothing wrong with sending in small packages of cards to PSA. Nothing wrong with setting them up in order of lowest grade to highest grade. And what that does is it frames the mind of the grader. They know how to grade, believe me. They're not worried about you testing them. But you also want to feel confident that when you go out to buy raw cards, that you can accurately predict what they're going to grade. Because if you can do that, then you can become a professional treasure hunter like myself, the doctor. So here is the last card of the 4-card PSA $100 express submission. And is none other than a gorgeous Walter Payton rookie. And you're going to ask me, wow, PSA 8.5, just missed 9. What were you hoping for? Now, joking aside, of course, I'm always hoping for the highest grade. I was hoping for an 8, but I thought it could be an 8.5. I didn't think it could 9 because of the lower right-hand corner. And lo and behold, it got a PSA 8.5. So what happens is when you submit cards to PSA and other grading companies more and more, you're going to gain experience and you're going to gain confidence. Both of those combined, along with your knowledge. And don't be afraid to ask friends. Drop me a line. Send me a DM on Instagram through Leighton_Sheldon. Email me anytime, Leighton@justcollect.com. Ask me a second opinion. Believe me, that's $400 plus shipping and all that good stuff. We're not talking about chump change. So you want to make sure that you're going to be learning everything that you can about the grading process and then perfecting it as you go. Because I've been doing this a long time and I'm still trying to figure it out all these years later. But the most important thing to me out of a grading company is consistency. So what I really liked about this 4-card PSA reveal is although I didn't nail every card exactly, I was very close enough, especially on the higher grade cards. And so it gives me the ability to go out and appraise and to buy and to successfully sell vintage sports cards. And as crazy as the space is right now, some areas have remained hot, other areas have cooled off. One thing that I know is vintage cards will remain consistent, likely for a long time. And I feel really good about that as far as me understanding the grading card process and then getting the cards back. We'll talk about in a future episode what I might do with them because I think that's interesting as well because that completes the process. But I thought what was super cool is that these are all purchased raw, fresh from collections and collectors. Nothing was cracked out, which we'll talk about crackouts in a future episode of Trading Card Therapy. But for today, we wanted to keep the process very simple, especially for those beginners that maybe have balked at paying PSA $100 a card. You might say, well, that's crazy. Am I going to get the same card back? Yes, you are. Realize that they have incredible security. I have had a card get damaged. You may ask me, oh my God, what happens if my card gets damaged? Call PSA. They're going to make it right. It may not be the easiest thing to do right away. You might feel overwhelmed. Nat Turner's on Instagram, and he's the president. So if you tell him what's happened, he will get you to the right person. I'm confident of that. They care about their brand, and they care about people paying a lot of money to get their cards graded with them. So just take your time to educate yourself. And I'm curious, for those hobby vets out there, shout out to, the folks who've been doing it for 10 plus years and you know who you are. Someone just texted me, I'm in Toronto waiting for my passport, so no, I'm not there. I'll answer that. There's a big convention in Toronto this weekend. But moving on to another topic, there is also a very exciting trade night tonight at Bleecker in New York City at 96 Christopher, where you can meet the Bleecker team, the Red Bulls, the soccer team, as well as Slab Stocks. Very exciting content they offer as far as pricing and anything related to the hobby and cards. And they happen to be soccer gurus. So I'm looking forward to seeing Aaron and the team tonight in the city. A lot of folks have asked me, like, what the heck goes on at these trade nights? So the first thing is they're in New York City. So you don't exactly have to twist my arm to get me to go to downtown, the Village, where I used to live as a young 20-year-old, and go eat great pizza, have a nice Italian meal, or just grab a drink and, feel the vibe of the city before I head over there. That's always a treat. And then I see Jacob and Mark and Jess and the rest of the Bleecker team. They're always so welcoming. And then, there's folks that come in from Jersey. Sometimes there's folks that are just in town for the event itself, and they flew in from God knows where in the country or elsewhere, like Nick, and so on. And so, I might bring some of my treats tonight, but I have a feeling that I'm going to take a different approach to tonight, because last week or 2 weeks ago when I was in the city for their last trade night, I took a bunch of really cool stuff for their first ever collector's showcase with Loop, and that went great. You get a little bit nervous when you have those expensive cards in your hands. And so tonight, because I've already, I believe, procured the purchase from Jacob, a really cool card I'll show off later on live for Bleecker, after I inspect it in person, give it the final, chef's touch. I'm going to try to bring some money, some checks, some cash tonight, and see if I can spread the love around, spread the money around, and see if I can buy a couple cards for myself, for the company, just collect, or for vintage breaks. And maybe it'll end up appearing in a future graded hit random or a set break, which of course you can find any and all of that good stuff at vintagebreaks.com. So once again, I really appreciate each and every one of you joining us today. I hope you saw value in the way that I talked about the grading process. Please drop me a line if you'd like me to cover a different portion or part of grading in the future, being that I have a lot of experience and have graded tens of thousands of cards with PSA. And with that is today's 20th episode of Trading Card Therapy. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Doctor.